Hello and welcome to the second part of this enhanced light and shadow video tutorial. Now that we've got our image cropped into size and also straightened out that horizon, we're now going to take a look at actually enhancing that light and shadow. So what we're going to do first of all, so that we can gauge exactly what's going on as we make our conversion, is just to take out any of the colour within the image. And we can do that very quickly just by going down to the saturation slider right at the bottom of Adobe Camera Raw and just reducing that right down to -100. The first thing we're going to tackle is the highlight clipping, and that's shown up in the top right by the red clipping. And to reduce that, we're just going to pull down our exposure. And I'm just going to take that down to about -0.8. And as you can see, that's just helped to reduce that red clipping up on the top right, but it's also helped to enhance the shadow clipping around the thistles and down by the bottom of the blind. Now if you've still got quite a bit of highlight clipping going on, then we can just increase that recovery slider, which will just help to reduce that further. Unfortunately, as we do that, you'll probably find your image is becoming a little bit flat. So if you've only got a few specks, I would just leave them as they are and keep the intensity of the black and white conversion. Now we've tackled the highlights, we're going to take a look at the shadows, and the first thing that we want to do here is just to increase the fill light, or just to help reduce that shadow clipping. So if we take our fill light and we just want to increase that right up to about 52, and as you see, we've almost completely got rid of all of that shadow clipping. Now if we increase the brightness to about 50, and it should be at 50 by default anyway, and we're also just going to add a little bit of impact by increasing the contrast to +60. Now if we take a quick look at the histogram at the moment, we can see the bulk of the information is over on the left, which gives us this really nice dark black and white conversion. But if you look at the extremities of the histogram, over in the shadows and over in the highlights, we can see there's only a very little bit of the shadow and highlight detail being clipped. We now want to just increase the tones within the image, or the intensity of those tones. So if we just boost the clarity to about +60, and this also just helps to boost some of the detail within the image as well. Now if I just want to experiment a little bit with the tones and the black and white conversion, what I can do is just to grab the temperature slider and just move that to the right and to the left, and as you do that you can really see that histogram changing. So as I move it over to the right, we can see all of those tones are lightening up. We're actually getting a bit more shadow or highlight clipping going on in the top right. If I take it right over to the left, you can see the image darkens up. And as I do that, you can see the bulk of the information within the histogram is moving across to the right, and that just shows the preference over to the highlights or to the shadows. And the way that's being influenced is just by the change in temperature of the colours. So just to demonstrate, if I just take the saturation back to about 0, so I move it over to the right hand side, we can see the image is becoming a lot more warm, over to the left and it's becoming a lot colder. And that directly influences the way the tones are affected by the colours within your image. So I'm going to take that down to about 4800, and that gives us a nice tonal balance throughout the image. Okay, we're pretty much finished with Adobe Camera Raw, and now to open up our picture within Photoshop Elements, all we need to do is just click Open Image. Now within Elements, we've got complete flexibility with our conversion. We've got quite a nice black and white, which we can just sharpen up to finish. Or if we want to have a bit of a play around with the black and white conversion, if we just go up to our adjustment layers, select levels, and then we can just pick the mid-tone slider, and to lighten up our image we can just move that over to the left, and that gives more preference to the highlights within the image. Alternatively, if we want a really dark and contrasty image, we can just move that mid-tone slider over to the right, and that adds a lot more impact for those shadows. Alternatively, if we want a really contrasty image, just set that back to 1. We can just clip in on the shadows, clip in on the highlights, and you can see we've got real nice high contrast black and white. So this technique gives you ultimate flexibility about the way that you convert your image. So I'll just cancel that. And final stage, as always, is just to sharpen. So if we just click Enhance, Adjust Sharpness, and we want to take our amount to about 65%, and we're going to take our radius up to about 1.6. I just click on and off, and we can really see the difference that sharpening makes to this very delicate black and white conversion. And we'll just click OK to finalise the sharpening. And there you have a black and white conversion that has enhanced both light and shadow.